Welcome back, Year 1. Now, before we can start making our collage, we need to make what we call some painted paper. And painted paper is exactly that. We use paint to paint a piece of white paper to make it more colourful. And we know that Matisse, the artist, liked to use bright, bold colours in his painting. So we're going to make some bright, bold painted paper to use for our collage. So to do this, what you will need is about 6, 7, 8 pieces of paper, depending on how many pieces of painted paper you want to make. You will also need an old sponge and some colours of paint. So I've chosen the primary colours along with some white. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to use my sponge to spread paint all over my piece of paper to make some interesting patterns. Okay, now what you might also want to do is you might want to use some objects that you can scratch into the surface of the paper to make the patterns on the paper more interesting. I, for example, have got an old fork, an old toothbrush and a stick, and I'm going to use these to make patterns on my painted paper. So here we go, let's get started. I'm going to take my first piece of paper and I want my piece of painted paper to be a reddy colour. So I'm going to dip the sponge into paint, and then I'm just going to whirl my sponge backwards and forwards across the paper to make interesting marks on the paper going right across. Be careful, hold just at the edges so you don't get fingerprints all over your piece of paper. And there we have it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some marks with my fork just to make the paper a little bit different. Okay, there we are. That's my first piece of painted paper, which I'm going to use for my collage. Okay, let me move that one out of the way. I'm going to take another piece of paper, and this time I'm going to use the rough side of the sponge, and I'm going to use blue. And this time I think I might try doing swirly shapes on my paper like this. There we are. Add some more paint. Just remember to hold the sides of your paper as you're doing this. Okay, and I'm going to leave a few white gaps in this. And this time I might brush the painted paper with the toothbrush to make a pattern. Okay, now it's up to you how you go about making your paper. You might just want to use the sponge. You might want to add other ways of decorating your paper as well. Okay, for my next piece, I want to mix up the colours a little bit. So I want to make a purplish coloured painted paper. So I'm going to dab in the red, and then I'm going to dab in the blue. So, and we know that red and blue make purple. There we go. Running out of paint, dab in the red, dab in the blue, and keep going, making sure that the colours as you go get well mixed up. Okay? There we are. And I think this piece of painted paper, shall I use some marks? I could just leave it like that. I might just add some spotty bits onto the painted paper, or you could leave it just as you can, like. Year 1, it's up to you to use your imagination. What colours do you want to use? Do you want to mix the colours? Do you want to paint across the page with your sponge or down the page? Do you want to add extra marks with some objects? What I would like you to do is to make at least 6 pieces of painted paper, let them dry, and then we'll be ready to use them for our collage work. Okay, bye for now.